look, we're in the process of wanting to take this church deeper and take this church further into some different things in your life. And you're going to begin to start to see some more discipleship-based messages and opportunities for you. Today, listen, let me just be honest, is that many of us, we want our stuff protected, right? Many of you, even at church, you got out of your car, you hit your beep, beep, right? It's a safeguard for your car. You do that. Some of you will set your alarm systems at home. Some of you will chain gates, other things. You'll put items that you want to keep safe inside of a firebox, inside of a fireproof box. We have floor safes. We have credit locks, online filters, passwords, fences, seatbelts, airbags, all of these things that are safeguards to help protect us or keep our items safe. This series that we're calling Safeguards of Discipleship is an opportunity to share some practical additions that I think you can add to your walk with Christ to make sure that you're going to be a better disciple. Look, if we've got something here that kind of, you want to share out there on social media, we're going to ask you to use the hashtag Safeguards of Discipleship. If you're not sure what that is, you're like, that's a £, it's okay. We can get with you later on that. But it's just a great way to just share online all the things that are said and shared from you, the congregation, from the church as we promote these things for people to just click on that. So why do we want Safeguards of Discipleship? Because we want to help you live fully committed to God. And some of those safeguards that we're going to be talking about today in the next couple weeks are guardrails, accountability, and mentorship. Guardrails, accountability, and mentorship. You oftentimes hear myself or hear Pastor Ricky or some of our other leaders, maybe in the context of your life groups, talk about some of these things, but what do they really mean? And so, today, we're going to start this off in talking about guardrails. Now, some of what I will share today on guardrails may sound familiar to many of you. One of our best for the church, one of the best pastors and teachers in the United States is Andy Stanley. He is just a great pastor. He's a pastor to pastors and a leader to leaders. And he has done a series on guardrails. And so don't worry, he is okay with and encourages other pastors to share his stuff because it was God's first, okay? So, and just to make sure that we're playing both sides, I am perfectly fine if Andy Stanley uses my stuff. That is, I have no beef with that. That is just fine if he chooses to do that. But guardrails are meant to keep vehicles and people from danger or off-limits areas. They warn us of danger and sometimes even possible death. Generally, they are physical barriers that are in place. And oftentimes we see them when we've crossed a line. So the line's there, but oftentimes that barrier's there or that guardrail is there whenever we've crossed that. Look, we don't have to worry about being on an intentional path to something good, to something uplifting, to something positive, and seeing a guardrail, okay? Imagine if you're driving down, pick your road of choice, whatever it is, and you're supposed to be on this road, and you're supposed to be doing that speed limit, and you're on your side of the road, and all of a sudden a guardrail is in the middle of the road. That's not how it works. It is for when you get off of that road to be able for that. So lines show us where we need to stay. The berm indicates that we've gotten off the road a little bit. We kind of get that jerk as we kind of go off there. But the guardrails are meant to keep us from immediate and costly danger. Okay? Those guardrails are oftentimes the height of our cars, our knees, our waist to keep us out. Okay? That is That is oftentimes they are at the right height of whatever their purpose is for to keep things out. Going through, over, under, or around a guardrail always has consequences. Now let's face it. There are some of us in here that when there is a sign not to do something, it's bait to do it. Okay? I remember whenever I was young, walking around town and somebody had this really nice yard with the sign that says, "Stay off grass." Don't judge me. You know what? Yeah, I went on that grass. Or, danger from what? So you're always wanting to, but whenever we do that, whenever we go over them, around them, detour them, there's consequences of that. Why? Because oftentimes we do that intentionally. We intentionally try to go around those, or we're irresponsible in them. Those guardrails along the side of the road at the posted speed limits, their intention is to slow you down and stop you without having to worry about going over. But if we're driving irresponsibly and we're driving at excessive speeds, that guardrail ain't nothing but a piece of paper. Okay? Because it is not going to stop anything. There's consequences to being irresponsible around guardrails. Line jumping at an amusement park at a concert, okay? Oftentimes they've got those, rails there, and they're trying to herd you through and all those things, and you go to jump those, you might get kicked out. There's consequences to going over those guardrails. If you're at a, racetrack and they've got, whether it's the guardrails, whether it's the big concrete barriers, whatever it is, you go over those, there's consequences like getting ran over by a race car. Okay, so you deserve what you get for going over those. If you ever want to go and watch some, presidential event and they've got those guardrails up and you go over those, I hope somebody's filming because you're getting tased and I can't wait to see it on YouTube. Okay, when you go over those guardrails at that presidential event, you're getting tased. You might even get shot. Okay, so there's consequences to going to trying to bypass the guardrails. At the same time, guardrails take up space where we can be to keep us from where we shouldn't be. The guardrails are oftentimes in usable places. We think, wow, this road could be a little bit wider if not for that guardrail. I don't know about you, but it's a good trade-off. I'm okay with that. If the guardrail was in the ditch, what good does that do me? If the guardrail was 40 yards down the side of the hill, that doesn't do us any good. So oftentimes there's a trade-off because those guardrails are right at the edge of where you can be and where you shouldn't be. Of course, in this series, we're not talking about guardrails along the road. We're not talking about guardrails at concerts or amusement parks, anything else. We're talking about guardrails needed in faith. We can't have this blind thought that we can just believe God to make everything to happen and it's going to be fine and trouble's never going to come against us and all of those things. We can't simply think that one prayer fixes it all, that, as soon as we pray that one prayer that we're, good to go. We have to place some guardrails up in our life. One thing that I talk a lot about as a pastor, and I always have even as a youth pastor, is the Great Commission. In Matthew chapter 28, I believe that this is just one of the most important texts for churches to always focus on what they're doing. And this is known as the Great Commission. So with this, I think that we should protect the process of discipleship, that we should put in some safeguards. Jesus is getting ready to ascend to heaven at the end of his time on earth here in Matthew chapter 28. And he's meeting with the disciples. He's meeting with them, and he really gets to this in verse 19 of Matthew chapter 28. It says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I'm with you always to the end of the age. Some words there that we had in yellow that we've got to pay attention to. Make disciples, teach them, observe everything that Jesus has commanded. I take the Great Commission very seriously. Pastor Ricky, our leadership team, we take the Great Commission very seriously. Much of what we do around here points to discipleship. We heard a great word from Pastor Ricky yesterday at men's breakfast on validation. That's part of discipleship. Coming to men's breakfast. Do we get to eat? Yeah. Do we get to have fun? Yeah. Do we get to have a good time? Yes. But there's also discipleship taking place there. You're going to see more of these types of efforts as time goes on over the next months and years as we move on. Yes, we're going to continue to reach those people who don't know Jesus. That will not stop, okay? Because that is what he said. Go therefore and make disciples. First they have to be saved, and then we begin to make disciples. That's not going to stop. There will always be a push from this church to see people come to know Jesus. But there's this thing that we've got to let people realize, and that's that their salvation journey doesn't stop at that prayer. It doesn't stop at that altar. It doesn't stop at wherever they came to know Jesus, that there's more to that. So the discipleship process is needed and valued. So we're encouraging you through this Safeguards of Discipleship series to put some of these safeguards in place. Safeguards in the discipleship process lead to stronger and more effective Jesus followers. If you don't put some of these safeguards in place that we're talking about, and we can't go through all of them, that would be a 54-part series, something like, I don't know. But on just these three big ones that we talk a lot about, that we hear a lot about, these will help you to be stronger and more effective Jesus followers. What do I mean more effective? I mean that you're going to begin to be able to lead people to Jesus, that you're going to be able to see people come to know Christ, that you're going to be able to see healing happen, as Ty encouraged us whenever we lay hands on people. Listen, that is all part of the discipleship process. Serving God is not intended to be a solo mission. Nowhere in the Bible do we even come close to, hey, when you get saved, figure it out on your own, go about your journey by yourself, don't worry about it. The Bible doesn't come close to that. The Bible is about community. The Bible is about family. The Bible is about doing faith together. So please, church, hear me. Do not be one of these people that you are trying this faith journey on your own, because one thing that's going to happen very quickly is no one's going to like you. Okay, so I'll just be honest with you. No one's going to like you because you don't want to be around them, so guess what? They don't want to be around you. Number two, isolation on your faith journey generally leads to a withdrawal from church and eventually the journey itself. If you think that you're going to just do your own thing and that you're not going to participate in things that happen here at New Life Assembly to help you to become a better Christ follower, if you're just going to try this thing on your own, you will eventually stop coming to church and eventually walk away from faith. Yeah, but I can stay at home on my couch, and what good are you benefiting the kingdom of God? Because Jesus said, go and make disciples. Not get saved, sit on your couch and, send in money to that preacher on TV. I'm not knocking those guys, okay? Great ministries that they have. They would tell you, find a church to be able to be discipled in. So what about here at New Life Assembly? What are some of our discipleship things that we have in place? So we're talking about after salvation, after that moment that you come to know who Jesus is and what he's about, what is next for you? We've talked about life groups already this morning. Again, After we're done here, sign up, because all of these leaders are taking these sheets and they'll start, texting or emailing all the details for their different life groups and such. Those help to make you better disciples. Well, I'm not sure about, being around people. I get that. I really do. Like, there are times in my life that I don't want to be around people. And that may be shocking to some of you, but there are those times, okay? I enjoy being able to place a food order on my phone, walk in, grab my drink, sit down at a table, and they bring it to me. Hallelujah. Okay? I enjoy that. I also enjoy those times where I can be with people in those things. So we're just saying is that we've got to push ourselves a little bit. We've got to try to get out of our comfort zones. Starting point, we've talked a lot about that. If you're new here to New Life Assembly, starting point is part of that discipleship process for you. After starting point may be growth track, men's ministry, women's ministry, Wednesday night Bible study coming up soon, and so many other opportunities. Many of these fun events that we do them for the purpose of fun, but there's also discipleship through that, because there's relationship that happens. And as we grow in our relationship with one another in Christ, then our discipleship value grows as well. Guardrails in life will often keep people from experiencing regret. Guardrails in life will often keep people from experiencing regret. What are some of those areas that guardrails are probably needed for you? Obviously, your faith. You need some guardrails in your faith. You need some safeguards in your faith. Your family, your marriage, other relationships, moral standards, financial safeguards, financial guardrails, and many, many, many more. What about you? What about some of your regrets? I think if we went around the room, all of us would say, yes, we have regrets. Those regrets are probably there because there was a lack of guardrails in your life. There was a lack of standards in your life. You thought you could do it, but it ended up being that you couldn't. Maybe some of those where you have regrets are some relationships. Okay, so what are you going to do differently? What are you going to do differently for that, friend who you thought was a good friend, and they ended up backstabbing you? Maybe some of yours are financial regrets because there was no guardrails there. Maybe it's drug abuse, alcohol abuse, other temptations. There was no guardrails in place. Any other regret is there because of a lack of guardrails. Now, there's good to come out of this, because people may give you a hard time about your guardrails, but when they're in the ditch, they're calling you first. They may give you a hard time. They may, rib you a little bit. They may joke on you and pick on you and mess with you, about those guardrails. And I'm going to share some of the ones in my life here in a few moments. But many times the people that will give you a hard time for the guardrails, for the standards in your life, when they're in the ditch because they didn't set a guardrail, they're calling you first. So hang in there. I want to share with you a few of the guardrails that that are in place for Amy and I in our marriage. One of them is known as the Billy Graham rule. Okay, if you've been around church for a long time, it's known as the Billy Graham rule. Recently came out in this past election, also that Mike Pence, our vice president, would follow the same rule. The Billy Graham rule essentially is this, that I make it a point to not be alone in a car with another female that is not my wife or someone related to me. I'm not going to counsel another female without my wife or someone else in the room for that accountability. I'm going to do all that I can to avoid looking like something is happening, because in case you live under a rock, all it takes is an accusation of something and your life is ruined. Nothing has to happen. So that is in place for us. Oftentimes, there will be some meetings because we've got females on our leadership team, and these things happen. So I will meet with them, but when I do, we meet in my office, and any of them can testify that my door is always open. And it's in my calendar so that My wife knows that. We share calendars. By the way, that's another guardrail, okay? We should now, it's not like we write down on my calendar and she writes down on hers. They're on our phone and we share them. So she knows everything that's happening in my day and who I'm meeting with and whatever the case is. Because now, well, yeah, but Pastor, you said earlier. No, earlier I said I will not counsel with a female. Okay? Ministry would be really hard if I drew that solid line to say that I'm never going to meet with female leaders to get things accomplished. Nothing would get done. They're on that team because there's a great trust there. Okay? Because they know that I have this in place. Okay? And as I said, it is not done behind closed doors, behind locked doors, any of those things. I'm not going to have lunch with another female who is not my wife without my wife or someone else there with us. Matter of fact, on one of those flights back to Ohio, Amy kind of gave me a hard time because I think I landed at Columbus Airport about midnight, and the hotel called me a Uber. And it happened to be a female driver that picked me up. And so get there and, make it to the hotel, and, Amy's just asking whatever. I said, the, Uber driver, she was pretty cool, didn't say much, but Amy says, oh, so you were in the car alone with a woman. So... okay, that time busted, yeah. But sometimes it's sometimes like I'm gonna be like, next one, please, because the hotel was paying for it. So, Amy and I in our marriage, we do all that we can to not go to bed upset with one another. Does it mean that everything is peachy and hunky dory all the time? Absolutely not. Okay, but what that means is some late night conversations, of making sure that we're going to sort those things out. Sometimes some things happen in the morning that give us an entire day to be upset with one another, okay? But we're not going to bed upset. And so Amy and I, we don't have any secret passwords. There's no phone lock on my phone. Anyways, hers, I know the password. I'm not sure why she has one because the kids know the password too. So I don't even know why she has one. We know our email logins, our social media logins, and all those things. So those are some guardrails that we have within our marriage. What about finances? We have some guardrails in finances. First off is that we have a system in place where we know who's spending what and when. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, doesn't that make it hard to buy each other gifts? It does, but we work around that whenever we need to. But we have a dollar amount set for being able to go and spend something without discussing those things. For everyone, that's a different amount. I was going through some marriage prep with a couple once, and their amount, they were talking to us about this because we encourage, new couples about to get married to come up with an amount, and theirs was $400. That's what I said. Danny's like, $400? They were a well-off couple, so that was their amount. For some, it's $40. But figure out what that is, what that guardrail is going to be. We have our checking account and our savings account at two different banks. So that it doesn't make it as easy to take money from one to the other, so on and so forth. So those are some financial guardrails that we have. What about for our family? Probably one of the biggest guardrails that we have in place is that, hey, listen to me, these are the guardrails for me and my family. I'm not saying it is for you, but one of our guardrails is that we do not watch rated R movies in our home. We do not go to the theater to watch them. Look, there are some PG-13 movies that we've had to turn off because the PG doesn't stand for pretty good, okay? So there are some of those guardrails there that we have. Whenever our kids want to hang out with some other friends, if I've never seen that friend, okay, if I've never talked to that friend's parents, they're welcome to come to our house, but you ain't going there. Matter of fact, Georgia had a friend stay with us last night, and Amy was excited that, whenever her mom was, kind of talking through things, that she says, is it okay if I hang out for about 30 to 45 minutes to just get to know you guys a little bit? Amy was like, yes, because she doesn't want to just drop her kid off to anyone. So, very, very good things there. So, and the cool thing is that, listen, my kids will tell you, and I do say this to brag, okay, so I don't want anybody. My kids will tell you that their friends are like, man, your dad is so cool. It drives my kids nuts because to them, Because to them, I'm the biggest loser on the face of the planet. But to their friends, man, your dad is so cool. Man, I just love your dad. He's so awesome. So that's because we have some guardrails. Settle down, you two. We stock our kids' phones and their tablets. We stock them, okay? They're not allowed to have their own passwords, okay? Every time that they want to download an app, it's got to come to me first before they get to download that app. And most of the time, I just hit ignore because I want to see how bad they want it. How bad do they want that app? 5 minutes later, it comes back through, and then I text them like, I'm busy right now, leave me alone. But nothing goes on their phone. So I really know what is on their phones, and at any time, they have about 2.3 seconds to hand me their phone when I ask for it. Parents, those are your kids, parents. You're probably paying for the bill. If not, you're teaching responsibility, and that's good for them, but they still live under your house. So when you say, hey, let me see your phone, well, hang on a minute. I'm going to tell you what's happening right now. They're trying to hide stuff from you. They're trying to hit delete as fast as they can, okay? And, by the way, if your kids have two different camera apps on their phone, that second one's hiding some stuff, in case you're wondering. So you need to know these things. Really some of those guardrails. And for us, the Savage last name is a guardrail for my family. Because I expect us to carry ourselves like what I want our family name to be. So even our name is a guardrail. You are going to act like your last name is Savage, and there's pride with it. Now, with that comes some frequent reminding that, I don't care what Johnny Smith is doing. Your last name is Savage, not Smith, okay? So those are some of the guardrails for us. Let's take a look at Scripture. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 to 16 says, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. God's desire is for us who confess Jesus as Lord and Savior to live as wise people. We've been talking, there's wisdom in guardrails. There's wisdom in these things, so we're to live as wise people. Now with this, we see this line, because the days are evil. What do we take about that from guardrails? Guardrails or no guardrails, temptation will always be around. It's always going to be around. Whether you have guardrails or not, temptation will always be around in your life, in your family, in your workplace, in your relationships, and even temptations to abandon your faith or to abandon your morals. It's going to be there. Evil's present, temptation is all around. Moving on, verse 17 there, it says, therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Church, your willpower will only take you so far, but God's will for your life will take you places that you never thought possible. Will take you places that you never thought you would get to. Because on your own willpower, eventually you're crossing the line. Eventually, you're going to be over the guardrail on your own willpower. It's going to happen. God's will is the guardrail that stops you from experiencing destruction based on what you think is best. When we understand God's will for our life, that's a guardrail to keep us from getting irresponsible, to keep us from excessive speeds, to keep us from saying, well, I can meet with them, or I can meet with them, or I can go there, or I can do that. Listen, if God has set you free from an alcohol addiction, you have no business sitting at the bar area at Bricktown Brewery. Get a booth. Make that a guardrail for you. I'm not saying Bricktown Brewery is bad and evil, okay? They got some good fish and chips, okay? It's good stuff. But if you struggle with alcohol, make that your guardrail. Yes, we can, maybe for a season, it is to not go to places with that bar-type atmosphere. But don't try to say, hey, I can go to that, because that's you trying on your own willpower, and it's going to cause destruction. Okay? If there has been some trust issues in your marriage over the years, then perhaps you need to delete some of the stuff and some of the people off of your phone and out of your life. Because what is more important to you? Your marriage or that person or that conversation? When it's your willpower, you're going to fail. You're going to be in the ditch. You're going to be over the edge. But when it's God's will, you're saying, God, I want your will to be done. That's going to be the guardrail for you. Because when we know God's will, as verse 15 says, we live. We're careful and we live in God's will. It's not just about knowing right from wrong. It is not just that. We make those types of decisions based on rules, okay? We know that between right and wrong, we oftentimes make those decisions based on rules, okay? We know what's right to do in most places and most atmospheres, and we know what's wrong to do. But God's will overrides rules because his word takes the rules a little bit deeper and a little bit further. And what some people say is okay, God's word says is not. So it's not just about rules and right and wrong. It's about God's will and understanding this. Guardrails on your faith journey will help you from wavering in your faith. They'll keep you from straddling the fence. They'll keep you from going over the edge into a life of sin. An old life that God rescued you from, so why do you want to go back, church? You understand that? We are like, God rescued me, saved me from those things. So why wouldn't you want to put up guardrail every single square inch on your journey? Why would you want any gaps? We shouldn't. Because we should not want to return to that old life of sin that's going to bring death and eternal separation from God. Put those guardrails in place. Andy Stanley ends with this line, with his last couple lines. He says, nobody plans to wreck their life any more than they plan to wreck their car. They don't plan to wreck their career. They don't plan to wreck their marriage. They don't plan to wreck their health. They don't plan to wreck their profession. They don't plan to wreck their body. Nobody plans to wreck any of those things any more than we plan to wreck our cars. Catch this. The problem is we just don't plan not to. He is such a great, great pastor and a great, great leader. We don't plan to wreck those things. We don't plan to wreck our cars. Sometimes we just don't plan not to do it. And he ends one of those series with this line, and this is in your notes. Stepping away from what can harm you is a step toward the one who loves you. So this is why we need guardrails in our life, because they keep us away from what can harm us. It keeps us away from going over the edge, and it keeps us in line with the one who loves us. And this is why guardrails in your life must be a safeguard of discipleship that you are going to say, I must put in place.